inefficiently and then just slowly destroy those buildings as I get them working. Okay. I may do that here in a second. But first, let's get this wood rolling. So, we need to name this stop. Let's name this Carpenter. Easy enough. And let's define it. We've got to decide which direction we want this to run. I would rather it run longer on the way that on the route where it's empty than I would once it's loaded. Once it's loaded, I want it there right away. So we're gonna go ahead and have it head north from there, and then that'll mean that it's coming from the right here. So direction, it needs to head west when empty, and it doesn't need any of these. And that track stop is already set to dump south when it hits it. And it's set to not slow it down, so that once it's powered, it's just going to be running at full speed, and it's just going to perfectly in time. So I don't know if he's going to leave it that way, but Toady definitely allowed for some precision there. Okay, so then we have that stop. So then let's define our other stop. And let's nickname this Depot. Easy enough. And let's define this to guide north. Perfect. 14 days and 50%, that's fine. 28 days always, that's fine. Sometimes I really go through and I min-max this stuff and I set my preferences and all that, but this is really relatively okay. So while this is open, we're going to scroll over the stockpile we want to link it to, and then we're going to link it. So if you don't do that, it'll just link to here, and there's no really good way to edit that. So you end up having to remove it and do it correctly. So that's what you link. And then here's the part we always forget. Once we've linked it, you have to push enter, and you have to actually go down and enable what it can pull from that stockpile. And I generally just have it match what the stockpile settings are exactly. So it kind of doubles to catch myself. If I put something extra in the stockpile, it won't take it. So it's set to take all kinds of wood. That's pretty simple, and that's easy enough. So this job looks like maybe the troglodytes caused it to be suspended. We have plenty of idle mechanics, so that shouldn't be a problem. The only downside is those. It might take a second because we had built all those traps on the surface. I don't know what'll take priority there. And then the only thing I forgot. Does anybody know? No. Assign vehicle. We forgot to assign a vehicle. I just do them in order and let the cards fall as they may. So it looks like wood gets a fantastic quality minecart. And that is our lumber. So that will take all the lumber that's in this lovely empty stockpile and we'll transport it down here. So to get that stockpile to fill, now that we have a source, we're going to need to go ahead and remove all these others. I would remove just some, but then what they'll do is they'll just consolidate to the nearest one, and that's not helping us at all. So let's just remove them all. We're not chopping down any new trees now anyway. And all of those will get placed in that stockpile as it has room. That should also lower our idler count by anybody that's capable of hauling. Okay, so all our masons are still idle because we haven't done anything with them. So let's make a massive roof to protect us from flying things. And, almost forgot. This would protect us from flying things, except that flying things can land and walk down those stairs. So we'll have to build like a mechanical room over that that can be sealed. So let's start right here. And let's build that with granite. Building everything with granite for now. We do have a granite quarry, just kind of a big empty room that I'm not using, that I mine out when we run low on granite. It's down where that troglodyte came in. Thank goodness it wasn't like a spider. just going to have a ton for them to work on right now. And wall. We're going to build wall. And build a corner piece. Granite. Okay. And that should set them for now. That should keep them busy. Let's see what our idler count does here after I run this for a second. I took it down a little bit. Not quite as much as I would have hoped. Alright. Track stop needs mechanics. It would be great if they could do that. Now, if I run without a track stop, honestly, yeah, they're gonna load that minecart up anyway. It's just not gonna stop it on the way back. But I don't actually know. I've never built one without a track stop, so maybe guided ones don't need it. So until it's powered, that track stop could run just fine. So let's go down here and check on how our miners are doing. So they haven't finished that, so they're obviously not done if they haven't done the quarter pieces. That's kind of their last priority. Okay, so they're mining that out, and they're mining out our thing here. Now, in order to get those gems and that microline, I assume, microline out, we're going to have to create stockpiles for those, or else lose them for all of time. So that's a great chance to set up kind of those industries, the inputs for them anyway, so that they can start to get quantumed. I've said before, I thought quantum was cheating before minecarts, but it seems Toady seems to be okay with the idea of quantuming for now, or he wouldn't have built in the minecarts to naturally do it. So I will probably quantum until he creates the physics where things can't be stored infinitely on one square, where they start to spill to other squares. He's talked about it before. I think it's just further down the line. And until then, I'm going to build this way, and then at that point, I'll tackle that problem. Really get used to things and let him muck with it. Okay. Got that going. Okay. So let's plant some prickleberries. Strawberries. We didn't have these done last time, so I didn't do it. Oop, long land. I don't know what I have seeds for, so I'm just going to do one of everything right now. That is the reason that I do 3x3s, because it gives me a great amount of flexibility to adjust to the exact percentage of my crop that I want, rather than just huge farms where you have to determine that it's going to be 100 of one thing. So that's a personal preference. Plus, if you're not very good about providing everything a dwarf wants, I eventually, my forts always fail the tantrum spirals, eventually, because I get tied up in things like automating minecarts, and for instance, nobody has a proper bedroom yet. And so eventually people will tantrum, and at which point they're going to want to break something. And if they decide to break farms, I don't want to lose 100 of a crop. Just let him destroy 9 of it and feel better about himself, and I'll rebuild that one, as opposed to him destroying like a 10x10 right before harvest and just getting effed on my supply. So, let's see if this is starting to get quantumed here. No, it's not. Okay, but where is that cart? I think it's made it all the way to the... Yes. It's made it all the way to the barrels, which might be why we're running low on barrels. Yeah, because they keep getting loaded into here as soon as they're built. Okay, man, this thing can hold a lot. So this is why we do this. Look at this. All of this. This is why I'm running out of drinks, because I haven't had one drop yet. Now, once I have one drop off, that should provide drinks more than long enough to get to the next drop. So it ran me out of drinks to run it the first time. So I thought I had enough stockpile. I had like 400 or 500, but then my population boomed and they're drinking me out of house and home. So, I mean, I have a well, thankfully, right here. Well, yeah, well, there we go. I was on the wrong square. I have a well, so they should have plenty to drink water. They're just going to be pissed about it, which is fine. They can suck it up. I know that's the attitude that causes tantrum spirals, but I mean, I've seen casters like Sputs that just kill babies. So, I'm sure there's worse things I could be doing. So, I'm a little bummed that this just has the one plant barrel in it. But I guess that's fine. I do have them trying to brew. So, it's not for lack of trying. I have plenty of brewable plants. The issue is barrels. Which he's working on. Okay. They just filled the one with logs from the surface. Bummer. And let's see what they've done here. Little minecart. Okay, they've already loaded up with several. So, that's allowing them to just keep chugging. They're just going to keep... It has to... Now, the problem is the only downside of like these major moves when you first automate is everything has to get loaded into the stockpile as one task, and then as a separate task has to get moved to there. Thankfully, most of my haulers are smart enough to do it, and then they realize the next closest job is to finish what they started. But sometimes you end up with things kind of building up in that stockpile before they clear it. So, it is what it is. Alright. Needs architecture. And the merchants embarked. I forgot there were merchants here. I don't know that we traded with them. Oops. They probably had drinks. That sucks. Okay. I have rock crafts chugging along. I think they did. I think we traded. Did we trade? Does anybody remember if we traded? Mason's Workshop. So let's start to create chairs, because that is what people complained about first, is the lack of chairs. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. We got a barrel stored here. Look at that. It's working. I wish that Toady had designed it so they could be directly loaded too. The question I think there is probably how to program what the preference is. You know, the closest stockpile or the closest minecart ready to take that good. So, I don't really know how that would work, but that's kind of his job to figure out, I guess. So, yes, that would be great if he could move it over to that system. I understand the need, because that's literally perpetuating the problem of quantums. Because quantums are a little bit lame. I mean, they're kind of unavoidable with minecarts for this automation to work until he gets the spill to work. Did they ever pick up Scion now that we don't have that task forbidden? No. Scion, you're just going to sit there, and I don't think you're even rotting. I think, because you died long before these other dwarves. And you're just kind of chilling down there. So I don't know. This is our quantum refuse pile. So we got plenty in here. Lots of bones. That's nice. I think I may need to vent this at some point, which is kind of a security issue, but I don't know. It also becomes an issue of how do you vent it, because you have to pierce through that aquifer to get it sunlight. So maybe I'll have to create a different refuse pile. Sign, you are invincible. You can't have another dwarf till that corpse is cleared. Sorry. You're stuck. You are the dead dwarf sitting down on the failed aquifer plug attempt. You can't have them unload to a stockpile without quantum dumping, except you can have them dump to an empty square next to a stockpile, but then there's a chance that once that stockpile's full, they'll just take it back up to the beginning and start the whole process over again. And so you risk wasting infinite labor because they're just going to keep loading it back up. So you can't have it dump into a stockpile where it's assigned to that stockpile without quantuming it. I mean, it's doable. Lokri and I, the head guy behind the wiki, I play with him offline. He lives in my area, and he rips on me for this. So I mean, he's figured out a method, but he had a lot of forts starve to death because he thought that his non-quantuming method was working perfectly, and it just keeps having problems. So it's definitely possible. I'm just not sure how to get around the quirks of it. Let's go check on our reactors.